What is going on to all you wonderful humans watching now? I hope the day has been going well for you. If it hasn't, that's totally okay too, because today we are unpacking one of my personal favorites in the mindfulness tool belt, self-compassion. And for me, self-compassion, training my brain to be kind to itself, has been completely transformative for me. So let's start here. What is self-compassion? Well, self-compassion is treating yourself in the way that you would treat a friend who's having a hard time. Even if your friend blew it, even if your friend's feelings, you thought like, hey, that isn't such a big deal, or maybe your friend's just facing like a tough life challenge, the more complete definition of self-compassion via mindfulness actually has us recognize self-kindness, have us hold us like we're holding someone who's a human, who we love, and using mindfulness to make our awareness be here in the moment with whatever you're experiencing. For example, imagine that your best friend calls you, and after she just got dumped by her partner, and the conversation goes something like this. Hey, you say, picking up the phone. How are you doing? Terrible, she says, choking back tears. You know that guy, Tom, I've been seeing and dating for a little bit. Well, he's the first man that I really felt connected to since my divorce, and he just dumped me. Last night, he called me and said I'm putting way too much pressure on him, and I'm just devastated. You sigh and say, well, to be perfectly honest, it's probably because you're old, you're not that attractive anymore, you're boring, and you need to mention that you're pretty needy. That is not gonna help your friend. Maybe adding to that and saying, hey, you know, you've also gained 10 or 15 pounds over the pandemic, your clothes don't fit, so that probably didn't help, maybe some gray in your hair. You might as well just give up now and just maybe buy a bunch of cats, and then they'll be way easier because it's gonna be really hard for someone to love you. You would never say that to someone that you care for, ever. But strangely, we do almost the exact same thing to ourselves in similar situations. Or we actually are much worse to ourselves than what we just said to our imaginary friend here. Learning the art of self-compassion, how we can train our mind to respond to our thoughts in a healthy way, is a complete game changer. Why? It's very hard for you to find somebody in your life that talks as much trash to you as you talk to you. We are hard on ourselves. You are probably much kinder to a random person at Walmart than you are to yourself in a circumstance like this. So what we first want to do is we want to learn how to be kind to our mind. We want to learn how to hold ourselves as if we're holding someone that we love. And this is what we're going to look at today. With self-compassion, we learn to speak to ourselves like we're speaking to a good friend. You could say something like, I'm so sorry to hear that, are you okay? Just like you would say to your friend. If you're suffering, you would hold your friend. We would mindfully observe the pain. We would mindfully acknowledge the pain, just like we can do ourselves. The next time that you're caught in anything, instead of judging yourself and beating yourself up, why don't you try this? Why don't you try to hold yourself as if you're talking to someone that you love? And imagine that right in front of you. And that's what I often do. You know, people often ask me, Mike, but can self-compassion turn to self-pity? And it's actually the complete opposite. When you can learn to hold yourself like you're holding someone that you love, we're not saying, oh, woes is me, poor me. All we're doing is just acknowledging what is actually happening in that moment. So if you're sad in the moment, there's nothing wrong with you saying to yourself right now, okay, I'm sad and that's okay. Well, I'm sad right now and it makes sense. If a friend was in the exact same circumstance, how would you hold them? What would you say to them? We can mindfully observe our pain. We can mindfully acknowledge our suffering without exaggerating it. You can allow it to be there and to take a wiser, kinder approach to yourself and how you hold yourself throughout your whole life. So back to the point, can you be too self-compassionate? You know, many people again fear that this is some form of self-pity. In fact, being compassionate to yourself is the antidote to self-pity. While self-pity says, oh, poor me, woes is me, self-compassion recognizes that life is hard for everyone. And the research shows that self-compassionate people are way more likely engaged to hold their emotions in a healthier way and way more likely to not add to their suffering. They can work with what's actually there. They are also less likely to ruminate on bad things, what might happen, may happen, or could happen, and way more likely to be in a better mind state to respond to their mental health in a better, more professional and healthy way. Mindfulness or self-compassion, I would say let's do both, right? Self-compassion, holding yourself as if you're holding someone that you love. Mindfulness is really your ability to be present in the moment. And those two have a really wonderful marriage. When you're angry at a certain situation or you feel sad or let down, what better way to do that than to bring it forward and to imagine your best friend, or I often imagine my children holding that experience of sadness. I imagine me holding myself as a young child, or me holding a loved one, or me holding a friend. If they're having that experience, how can you hold yourself with love and bring awareness to it? And that is one way that we can use self-compassion and mindfulness together. See, mindfulness and self-compassion both allow us to live with less resistance towards ourselves and our lives. If we can fully accept things that are painful, and we can be kind to our mind, we can be kind to ourselves, we can experience that pain still, but not add to it. We can be in the pain with a greater ease. See, the benefits to self-compassion, what they've studied in the last about 10 or 12 years, they found there's an increase in overall well-being, a boost in you feeling more confident and resilient, higher emotional intelligence, a greater overall life satisfaction, more social connections, a decrease in anxiety, a decrease in depression, a decrease actually in your fear of failure or how you might look. Also, an increased motivation on how you look and how you feel, and some studies actually recently showed that improved body image. So a couple ways that I've used mindfulness, and I'll give you two stories and try to make them quick. Well, I know as quick as I can make them. One is, I always share the story that I was driving to Windsor from Stratford, where I live now, but I was gonna be gone for about 8 days, and halfway through the trip, I was going from home in Stratford to Windsor for 4 days. I just spent another 4 days previous to that in Bruce County. So out of this 8 days, I was home for not even half a day. And on my drive to Windsor, I started to miss my family and think, I haven't seen Jen that much, and I haven't been around my boys, and another 4 days is gonna be hard on me. And guess what my mind said? Shut up. It just yelled at me, shut up. You would kill to be this busy 5 years ago, 6 years ago, 7 years ago. So all of a sudden, I had this natural motion of sadness, of missing my family, and my voice over top yells at myself on my way to go talk to health professionals about self-care. Ironically, leaving first responders talking about the importance of being kind to their mind. And yet on my drive there, what am I doing? Yelling at myself, talking trash to myself. And I press pause like I normally do, and I just imagined my wife being in the exact same circumstance that I was in. I imagined Jen being, her 4th or 5th day on the road, not gonna be home for another 4 days, and she would call me and say, hey Mike, I miss you, I miss the kids, this is really hard on me, I'm kind of sad. What would I say to her? It wouldn't be, shut up, you're making money, who cares? Oh, stop it, stop complaining, oh, woo, hard life you have, must be tough. Of course not. I would say to her, yeah, well that makes sense, hon. You're away a better part of a week, you're missing us, it makes sense that you kind of miss us and feel sad. That's why I would hold her with love. And that's how I talk to myself. I thought, okay, we can be sad and we can also be busy at work, and we also can miss the family, and I'm allowed to have all of those things together. And that's just one informal way that I use mindfulness all the time via self-compassion, to talk to myself as if I'm talking to someone that I love. And more of a serious way of using this was when I was, one of my best friends got very ill at 35, a rare type of cancer, was in the ICU for over 20 days. And I would go and visit him, and I was, going multiple times a week. This is before COVID. And when I was in the ICU with him, the first couple days he, could make eye contact and kind of squeeze my hand and stuff. But then as things worsened, there was no longer that kind of connection. So I just often sit next to his bed, but it would often leave me with some sadness, obviously, and some, energy feeling. But then I would leave and I would start comparing myself to his wife and thinking, well, she has to be even more sad than me, and I should be there for her, and your wife and kids are still healthy. So, and I would do this weird comparison. And then I remembered, stop. I'm also allowed to witness suffering and hurt and sadness, just like she is, and I can still be there for her, but I also need to recognize that if this was happening to my wife, best friend, what would I say to my wife? I'd say, well, it must be really hard for you. And of course, the other parties are sad and they're losing the person they love, but you're also losing a person you love. See, this is why I'm so passionate about mindfulness and what I do, because it's helped me through the hardest times of my life. I promise you that, right? This is, as many of you know, hopefully by now, this is not just like a job to me. This really is my life's work. So it's my intent that you look at this practice of self-care via self-compassion. So no matter what's happening in your day, by the end of doing these reps over and over and over again for the next couple weeks, you're gonna be able to hold yourself as if you're holding someone that you love. And to me, that's transformative. And of course, if you have questions, comments, or concerns, all you have to do, hey, contact Mike. It's that simple. Never hesitate. Don't think about, oh, I'm bugging him or I'm 4 weeks behind and now the program's almost done. Message me. I'm great at getting back to people. So this week we have one thing to do and one thing only, and that's learn how to be kind to our mind via self-compassion. I would highly recommend that you do this practice at least 4 or 5 times this week. All you have to do is scroll down, press play. The practice is there. And again, if any questions, comments, concerns, never hesitate to reach out. Hit me up at mindfulmike.ca. Just hit contact Mike, just like that. You know the deal by now. Or again, DM me directly at mindfulmasse, M-A-S-S-E. I look forward to seeing you all soon. Peace and love. Talk to you later, and bye for now.